Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. First thing that I want to address here, because I haven't said this yet on my channel. A few weeks ago, I moved, hence the different location here, but that's actually relevant to this video, that's why I mentioned it. While I was moving, obviously a bulk of my room decor, just a bulk of my life was my books. Shout out to my apartment because it has a built-in bookshelf. But as I was setting up that bookshelf and like moving all my books in here, I came across so many books that oh, there goes the lighting. Okay, we'll just wait for her to come back. Just one second. While I was moving, I found all of these books that I'd read years ago, and I was like, you know what? These books are like OG BookTok books that got me into reading again, and the books that I was like, okay, I'm obsessed with these in like 2021, and that's 3 years ago now. So I figured what better than to reread some of those books and see if my ratings have changed, if I would still recommend those, if those were a moment of the past, all of that. If I'm being completely honest, there's one book that really made me want to do this video. I saw this ancient relic and I was like, girl, look at the tabs, first of all. The old tabs, okay? And there's not a lot, there's like 6. I saw the tabs in here and I was like, what could I have possibly been tabbing? Like, I gave this book 5 stars. I've read it twice, 5 stars both times. Mind you, when I first read this book, this was like the first book that I had read, physical book that was like smutty. Like not something on Wattpad that was about like Harry Styles, you know? Was a life-altering book, I can't lie. And you know what, thinking about this book, I do still recommend it. And I do think about it a lot. Do I think it's gonna be a 5-star? I don't. Do I think it's gonna be probably a 4? Yes. So I'm gonna start with this one because this book got what Icebreaker is getting, where at first everybody was like, oh my god, this plot is so interesting, like we love it. The people that read this and were like the ones loving it had to fight tooth and nail to defend themselves, because then all of these people who are like in their 40s are reading this book and Icebreaker and then are like, this is just pure smut, like this is no plot, blah 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 blah, and like all the people hating on it are people that should be reading the books with the shirtless men, like David Hasselhoff looking men. You know, I'm like, go to that section of Barnes & Noble, let me have this. So I'm gonna reread this and we're gonna see if this and the other 3 books that I picked for this video are going to hold up, or if I'm going to wish I left this back in 2021. And we're starting with Punk 57, a classic. Okay, so for those of you who don't know anything about Punk 57, this is by Penelope Douglas. It is about these 2 high schoolers. They get paired up in like 5th grade to basically be pen pals from different schools. And over the years now into high school, they have been communicating. They've never met in person. And it was like a big thing that they were like, we're never gonna meet in person because if we meet in person, then it could just ruin things. Misha disappears and Ryan does not hear from him. And she's like, what? Like, we used to talk all the time. She's like still writing him letters and he's not responding to any of them because he went through something. You find out what it is. I'm not gonna say it, but she doesn't know. So basically she just thinks that he cut her off and doesn't want to be friends anymore. She doesn't know why. So now she's like, okay, well now I really don't want to meet him. Mind you, I haven't even opened this up and started rereading it yet. That was all from my memory. When I tell you guys I devoured this book, now I'm actually gonna start reading. I can't tell if this is sunburn or if it's too much blush that I put on. Cause is that my boyfriend? Like I keep hearing this car revving and I don't know if he's coming over or not. So I just hear a car revving and I'm like, is that my boyfriend? I'm like halfway through Punk 57. I have new tabs in it. Like part of me thinks this is nostalgic for me. Not even from like 2021 when I read it the first time, or even 22 I think I read it a second time. This is my 3rd time reading this book. This was the type of guy that I dreamt about having in my life when I was like 11. Shout out Luke Hemmings. The lip ring, emo, like angsty teenage kid, like that's what I was like, oh my god, like guys like this in high school are gonna, like they're gonna be just like this. Girl, nobody at my high school was like this. The closest thing I have now is my current boyfriend listening to Bring Me the Horizon. That's the closest I've got to Misha Lair in my life, okay? Is it a 5-star, like, writing and plot-wise? No, but I would give this a 5-star based on vibes. I feel like I will just end up giving it a 5. The thing is, I also know what happens and I know this book like the back of my hand. So it's kind of hard for me to not give it a 5-star now because it's like, I already know everything that's gonna be happening. But point is, I'm halfway through. I thought I'd give an update. I genuinely just like can't put it down. When I read these books, I'm reading these for vibes. I simply read for vibes. Hence why I really don't read literary fiction, why I have not read like any classic novels, because I read for vibes. I read to literally read the most ridiculous stuff, and this is part of it. So I don't care. It's just vibes. But also, if you don't like it, don't read it. Like, why does it matter? I'm gonna finish this and then I'll come back. Seeing my kitchen and my stash of oatmeal. I don't think I did an update at all when I finished Punk 57 because I think I finished it at like 2 a.m. Unfortunately, this is gonna be another 5-star. And I say unfortunately only because this book gets so much hate, and I know Penelope Douglas books get a lot of slander because they're kind of like these twisted stories, but it's fiction. So if you can associate these books with fiction, then you'll be fine. But otherwise, I think you should stay away from her books. Personally, this book is a little bit nostalgic for me, which is kind of a weird thing to associate this book with, but it is because I read it when I was 18. My boyfriend was over here the other day and I was like, dude, I explained this whole book to him. Like, I had these books that I liked, but this one was the first one that I really like obsessed over. I had him read some of this stuff and he was like, girl, this is ridiculous. Like, please choose another hobby. But personally, I love this book and I don't care what anybody says. Today, I started reading and finished Love in Other Words. This is one that is also very popular on BookTok. As you can see, she's pretty tabbed up. I sat and read her at the beach. At the beach? Girl, I was at the pool. I read this in one sitting in like 2.5, 3 hours. It's like 400 pages. The chapters are also really short and I feel like this is just an easy, fast-paced read. I gave this 4 stars the first time I had read it, and I gave it 4 stars again because I love this book so much. If you don't know anything about this book for some strange reason, it is about these childhood friends who grow up together and then they end up dating and they have this conflict that makes them go no contact for 11 years. You don't find out what it is until the end because it's dual timeline. Is that what it's called? If you guys know, I'm not a fan of Emily Henry's book, People We Meet on Vacation, because of that dual timeline and the fact that there's a miscommunication trope in it. Don't like that. This has miscommunication low key. Like, I don't think it's miscommunication more than just like no communication. But they go no contact for 11 years and then find each other again in a random coffee shop and they're like, hello. So they're both in separate relationships and then they're like, okay, well, what do we do now that we finally saw each other again? I loved seeing the development of them from children to adults. I feel like it's just done differently. But the only reason why this is not a 5-star, despite how beautiful this book is, like, I love this book. I really, really, really do. It's not a 5-star because of the reasoning of why the conflict took place. If you guys know what it is, I'm actually gonna do a little spoiler here, so like skip literally like 10 seconds if you don't want to know the spoiler, because this is a big spoiler, right? Skip now. The reason why he cheated on her, I cannot get behind, and I cannot believe that she forgave him for it like so quickly. I think you could have maybe, I don't know how you forgive somebody for that, but like considering their history, I can understand why she would want to forgive him, but so quickly is crazy. Anyway, spoiler over. This book is a 4-star for me still. I definitely love the story, but unfortunately that's just gonna take it down a little bit. So far, we have the same record for both books we've read. But the next one that I have for you guys is Spanish Love Deception. I have not heard anybody talk about this book since it was raving on BookTok like 2021, 2022. I read this book and I did not love it. I think I probably gave this between a 3 and a 4-star. I really don't remember, but I did not love this book. Like, I liked it, but I wasn't obsessed with it. This girl who needs a date to her sister's wedding, and it's in Spain. She has to lie about her American boyfriend, right here, because he's going to be her fake date to this wedding, and while they're at this wedding is when like the romance starts, because they're forced to be together and act like they're together, and of course like that spirals. I really don't remember much about this book other than just what's on the back and what I've just told you guys, but I didn't dislike this book. I just didn't like obsess over it like everybody else did, but maybe that'll change. Maybe that will change. Hello everybody, I'm currently in my bathroom. It's the next day and I'm getting ready, but I thought I would chat because last night I finished the Spanish Love Deception. She's right here. And I want to start out by saying, apparently 3 years ago I gave this a 5-star. And the only reason I'm like reacting that way is because I was standing in my kitchen talking to you guys and I was like, I think I gave it like a 3 or 4. I didn't really like it, blah, blah, blah. Like, I did not like it, but it just like wasn't my favorite book ever. And so tell me why I go on Goodreads to say that like I'm reading it again and to log me reading it. and it says that I gave it a 5-star. Huh? I don't dislike this book. I don't dislike the writing or like the characters or anything. Like there's nothing wrong with the book. I don't dislike it. It was not a 5-star the first time, and it was not a 5-star the second time, at least for me. But I can tell you then, I was definitely feeling, and I do remember this, like I was feeling pressured to give it a really good rating because everybody on BookTok was raving about it. My friends liked it. Like everybody was obsessed with this book for a while. And even still, like if you look up like on BookTok, like book boyfriends, like the best book boyfriends, like whenever people do trends like that, Aaron Blackford is always in there. Like everybody loved him. This is what's tough is like I like the book, I like the concept, I like the writing. And even though this book is like 450 pages, it moves so fast. Like the romance between the characters moves so fast. And like it's spaced out well in the book, but when you look at it, like it's really over like 3 weeks time. And they're like, I'm in love with you. Like, I'm gonna quit my job for you. Like, I just love you so much. And I'm like, okay. So I did end up giving it like a 3.5, I think is what I'm gonna go with. To end this video off, I'm reading and I'm like 100 pages into The Love Hypothesis. What I like about this book is it's fast paced. Like you don't sit around and think like how long it's gonna take for us to get to like the main point of the story. Like you kind of wait a while in the Spanish love deception to like actually get to the wedding. But in The Love Hypothesis, like they literally, like the first chapter takes place immediately after they have like their first kiss. So I do like how fast it moves in that aspect. I just remember liking the plot, but not really enough until like the very end. So I'm gonna see if I can like find anything this time around to really hold on to so that I'm not bored until the end. But I'll come back and I'll give you guys updates. But that's what I'm doing right now. I sat at the pool today, read a little bit of this, and then my phone died. So I came inside. And it was also really hot, so. I am going to continue reading this, and then I will give you guys some updates as we go along. I am a little bit over halfway. I have this much left, and I'm so bored. I think it's because this is the first one that she's like really establishing like the fact that it is very like science heavy, but I'm not built like that. Mentally, I'm not a science girl. Like I don't know anything about this stuff. It's just hard for me to get through this just because like it's very science heavy. It's also in third person, which is another reason why it's like really hard for me to get through this. And I kind of just feel like we're going in circles. Our main girl, Olive, getting a little bit closer with Adam, the main guy, and then they're like, but it's fake. We're fake dating. Like, but it's like to the point where it just feels like there's no chance of there being any real connection. Like there's no like real flirting. And like we're 250 pages in right now, and this is what, 350? So you're gonna just flirt the rest of this book, but like nothing there's no build up here. That I think is why I'm struggling a little bit. So I finished all of my books, starting really strong. We started with Punk 57. This is one that I obsessed over for years, and honestly, I still really enjoy this book. I just like the pacing of it. I like the drama. I like banter and kind of like the frustration of seeing these two people fight, but knowing like the secret from the start. Like you know the secret from one perspective. So I feel like that's really interesting because the whole time you're just like waiting for the secret to burst. So I do still really love that book. And then we moved on to Love in Other Words, and my feelings about this book didn't really change at all. I feel like they pretty much stayed the same. It was just like a refreshing, cute read. The same reason why I didn't love it the first time around is the same reason why I didn't love it the second time around. I was kind of hoping that maybe I would see things differently, but I did not. This book was still really great. It's like a 4-star range. I jumped into The Spanish Love Deception, and this is one that I tried so hard to force myself to like the first time I read it. I didn't dislike it, but I tried to force myself to believe that I loved it when I didn't. The second time around, I can confidently say that this book is not one that I'm obsessed with. I do like the writing, I like the characters, I like the storyline, but for some reason, I think just like the timeline of events is what makes me not really fully attached to it. So I think I'm somewhere between a 3 and a 4. Then we finished with The Love Hypothesis. I've only read these two, and it really feels like the same kind of plot is happening in all of these books. I mean, I haven't read Love on the Brain, but I have heard from people who are in my life that have read Love on the Brain and The Love Hypothesis, that they're very, very similar. And I will say, just between The Love Hypothesis and Love Theoretically, I felt like these were really similar in the sense where a main female character who's in science somehow, she ends up fake dating somebody who's either someone who belittles her profession or kind of belittles her education or her knowledge or skill, or it's somebody who has someone in his life that belittles her, if that makes sense. And I feel like the only thing that really is different is that they're in different science fields. Like, this is physics. Yes, this is physics, and I think this is biology. That feels like the only real difference. I feel like the plots are generally the same. I think of these two, I like Love Theoretically much better. I think I'm gonna end up giving this around a 3-star, which is, actually, I don't know what I gave it the first time around. Guys, don't talk to me. I'm sick. Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. I gave this 5 stars the first time. This was not a 5-star from the first time I read it. Like, I knew it wasn't. This book and this book, I think these were so hyped up on BookTok that I so badly wanted to rate it a 5-star like everybody else, but in reality it just wasn't. And I know the first time I read it, that's not how I felt. Since it's very overpowering to the romance, I think it's just hard for me to read these and not get bored of like all the science talk. Thank you guys very much for watching. I hope I didn't offend anybody with my very blunt and honest thoughts, but I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys when I see you.